Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. Here to talk about AEW's Backlash 2018. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant AEW Double or Nothing 2023. That was a little joke right there because
I mean it's
wasn't a great pay-per-view.
No, it was not. It wasn't a good one. In a lot of respects, it was nearly it was a fairly disastrous pay-per-view at points.
Woo, strong words there.
No,
strong words. Let's hear it.
So there was a pretty damn abysmal unsanctioned bout between Adam Cole and Chris Jericho early in the show. I think it was the second match on the main card.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like the show ever really fully recovered from that. Yes, like the Four Pillars match was pretty good.
Pretty darn good match. There
were some other matches that had some fun moments. But on a whole, it just felt like it was disappointment. It was a letdown. The crowd up until the final two matches were not into anything that was going on really. There was some good stuff here and there. There was the Four Pillars match. There was a lot of bad.
Yeah.
A lot of bad.
Yeah.
And early on, yes, we had the joke. This is AEW's Backlash 2018, and I was saying that, hoping, hey, maybe they'll turn it around.
Hey,
and the Four Pillars match really tried. I feel like I have one of those Raw headaches when we used to watch Raw and then review it right afterwards. That's how I feel right now.
Yeah,
because I feel like, and part of the reason for those Raw headaches when we used to review Raw the night of was it was taxing in that you had to sit through so much just kind of mediocre stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of felt the same way to me.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that there was the thing is, man, when you expect your audience to pay $50 and you give them ostensibly 4.5 hours of a show, because there was the pre-show had one match in the final half hour of it.
Yeah.
And then you put on like a 4-hour main card. You're in this day and age, you're really expecting you're really expecting a lot. You need to deliver. You need to deliver every time. You have basically 4 main roster pay-per-views. You've got the Forbidden Door, which is like its own thing. This year they're bringing the All In thing as well. So there's 2 kind of, outside of their norm shows going down. And I don't know if those are going to become, Forbidden Door, this is obviously the second one. They're probably going to do that yearly. But in terms of pay-per-views that your main stories are being told on, you have 4 opportunities a year to put on a 4-hour show.
Yep.
And traditionally, AEW usually delivers with these things. And when you have your competition one day before put on a show that's universally praised, and their premium live events, their pay-per-views, their special shows have been praised. And this is not, look, I know I can already tell the comments are going to be loaded up with, oh, you guys are anti AEW. And no, man, we call it the way we see it.
Yep.
If the shit is good, we're going to say it's good. If it's crap, we're going to call it crap.
Yep.
That's the bottom line.
Crap.
If you want us to slobber all over something that's crap, we're not going to do it here. That's not us.
Nope.
And so there were a number of misfires in this show that probably could have been avoided from the outset. I thought there was some stuff that was goofy but still entertaining. The Wardlow Christian match was, I thought, goofy but entertaining. I thought the main event was some wonderful chaos until the finale, which we saw coming a mile away, but still, I thought they could have done, I don't know. It just felt deflating for Wheeler Yuta to get the pin on Kenny Omega there in the finish.
Yeah.
It's a good spot for Wheeler Yuta. It's good to put on his resume, but honestly, it's the kind of thing that if Wheeler Yuta doesn't take off over the next 5 years, this is going to be forgotten. And if he does, which I kind of feel like he might, I think he's proving that he's got something to offer in terms of personality. He's got the wrestling skills.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good spot for him to be in, but all in all, it was sort of like a lot of just really clunky wrestling, or not wrestling, but a lot of clunky storytelling when it comes in the macro sense to the to the wrestling.
And it in a lot of ways, over the last year or so, we've been pretty critical on AEW's creative, and even the stuff that was working, like the Blackpool Combat Club Elite stuff, going into this. As you mentioned, the finish of that match just felt it was more confusing than anything because let's recap a little bit. So Takeshita came in disguised or his identity hidden, and helped Blackpool Combat Club get the win. And so afterwards, you have Blackpool Combat Club who are all congratulating Wheeler Yuta on pinning Kenny Omega thanks to Takeshita hitting Kenny with his finish. And then you have kind of Don Callis, Takeshita milling about behind them. I'm like, okay, is Takeshita with Blackpool Combat Club or is he not? And then you have the Blackpool Combat Club all raise their arms at victory. And then right when that happens, Don Callis gets in behind them with Takeshita and raises his hand.
Yeah.
So like we need to know what the alignment is here. We need to know, crystal clear, is Takeshita and Don Callis aligned with Blackpool Combat Club or not? Because even commentary was trying to figure it out.
Well, the thing is, dude, it's totally appropriate and fine to have some sort of cliffhanger when it comes to a wrestling show.
Totally.
But this is your big kickoff to the summer season. This is your big, May pay-per-view, and there's not another one until August, in terms of like your main AEW pay-per-views. And you're ending it on a note that is simply inconclusive.
Yes.
And if it's an episode of Dynamite, hey, where does this go next? What's happening next?
Yeah.
But at a pay-per-view, you're not really supposed to do that kind of shit. Like, there needs to be some sort of definitive reason for us to react with, oh my God, he's joined the Blackpool Combat Club. Or, oh my God, Don Callis has built his own faction. Instead, everybody's sort of milling about, unsure of what's going on, both in character and for us as the audience, we're unsure as well, and it just leaves an unsatisfying conclusion to your pay-per-view. Where it turns out the Pillars was the best match of the two sort of if you want to call them co-main events, like WWE
the 4-pillar match was the best match on the whole card.
It was.
And now you mentioned a lot of kind of head-scratching creative decisions, and this show had plenty of them. I know with the situation with Jamie Hayter, she's injured. She's got an injured shoulder. Their hand was kind of forced, apparently, because if she can't defend the title, she was able to get through this match with Toni Storm. And they tried to book Jamie as someone who's not going to take defeat easily, even though she got basically annihilated by the Outcast before the match even started. You had that. I don't know. It's just like I'm sitting here thinking about it. It's deflating. We sit here and we want to enjoy the products we watch.
Yeah, sure.
And it's not going to happen all the time.
Yeah.
At certain points, company's going to put on a bad show.
Yeah.
But coming off of Night of Champions yesterday, apparently NXT tonight was really, really good.
Yeah.
And to sit through this AEW show feeling like, ugh.
Yeah.
That was I don't feel like I got much out of it from enjoyment level. I mean, we cracked jokes and had fun watching it because wrestling's always better watched with friends.
Yeah,
it's better watched with people. But
you can either make fun of stuff, you can enjoy stuff, you can laugh at stuff, you can experience the whole thing together. That's why we love doing these watch-alongs.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny because people are bringing up, before you move on here, to go back to the point about the finish of the main event, because a lot of people obviously are saying, oh, well, Kota Ibushi's going to, he was going to come in and even the odds against Takeshita. If that had happened tonight, which would have been a big deal, if Takeshita comes down and he ruins it for the Elite and they're standing there, Blackpool Combat Club are, bringing in Takeshita, and then if the match hadn't finished, and Takeshita does that, and then Kota Ibushi comes down to even the odds. But that didn't happen.
No.
And that would have been a conclusive, decisive pay-per-view finish moment. But to get something that's just mildly confusing is just, I don't know, it's just not a satisfying ending to anything.
And even if it was a situation where the finish went down kind of as it did, and then Takeshita starts beating up on Kenny some more, then Kota Ibushi comes out. And it's cool because it's Kota Ibushi, and that's great. But then you're thinking, Why didn't Kota Ibushi run out when Takeshita entered into the match?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why do you wait 5 minutes till the match was over?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, and so Jade Cargill defeated Taya Valkyrie, but then afterwards, Mark Sterling got on the mic and said, Jade will take on anybody. Chris Statlander came to the ring. They had another impromptu match right then and there. Chris Statlander beat Jade. She's the new TBS champion. And I think a lot of people had speculated that if anybody in the near future is going to beat Jade for that title, Chris Statlander was kind of high on the power rankings, if you will.
Yeah, sure.
And rather than try to build the actual story to that match, they did the shock title change.
Yeah.
That, I don't know, it just felt like the creative with Jade has not been very good.
No, she's been on an island lately.
Yeah, it's been disappointingly pretty bad for fairly consistent basis. And to have her title reign end like that.
Yeah.
It was, again, deflating. It's just deflating.
It is really silly to build somebody for, I don't know how long it's been. It's been 68 or 69 matches or whatever it was. And instead of telling the story where the person to take that title off Jade has to beat Jade in all of, not a post-match Jade, but has to beat Jade with all of it, like her or not. And obviously you and I both love Jade. We think she's a big superstar, or she has the potential to be there if booked properly.
Yes.
Instead of telling that story of somebody really being like, and it could be Statlander. It could be Statlander. Telling that story where Statlander has to beat Jade at her best. She goes the cheap route. The open challenge route. I didn't confirm this or not. I don't know. Maybe you did, but Fightful apparently has something about Jade taking a break.
Yeah, taking some time off, apparently, yeah.
And that's fine. That's great. Then, like, she deserves it because she's always there. But you figure out how to tell this story in a way that makes the accomplishment of beating Jade feel like an accomplishment.
Yes.
Regardless of who it is. And they failed on that front too for the shock value of, and I love Chris Statlander. I think she's a terrific wrestler. She's a 10 out of 10 wrestler. She's terrific.
She's great. She's really good.
And I feel like her character deserves better than this is the point.
Yes.
Yep. So
yeah. There's a lot to get to here in terms of not good. But before we get to the match breakdown, we can talk about kind of like the one bright spot of the whole show, the 4 pillars, fatal 4-way. There's a lot of creative stuff. We kind of knew that Jungle Boy is going to be faced with some situation where he had to make a decision if he's going to be, babyface Jack Perry, or if he's going to be tempted by the allure of cheating.
Yeah.
Because that's something MJF has been kind of getting on him about over the last few weeks. And we had that moment where he had the AEW title in his hand. He could blast Darby Allin with it, but he didn't. And eventually led to MJF getting the win, predictably. But in terms of creative spots, little story bits, character work, hands down the best match of the card.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. I think that they in terms of, I mean, I know the creative finish with MJF throwing the title on in between the coffin drop. I thought that was really, really good. Those guys, they absolutely killed it. They made an announcement, or it was announced anyways, that Sammy and Ty are having a kid. I think that's awesome for them. And Sammy was working this baby face. He did a spot where he's like, okay, Max, I'll lay down for you. And he rolled him up instead. Yeah. And so it's, after sort of a build that was sort of took a weird detour with that whole, situation. Yes. I thought that there were elements of the build that were actually pretty darn good. Some of it was shaky, but the match itself, I always kind of figured these guys are going to bust their ass and put on match of the night, and they ended up doing that.
Yeah, they did.
So I can totally appreciate that. And like I said, I thought that for sheer sort of sports entertainment silliness, 2 guys that really actually worked their asses off, Wardlow and Christian. I thought they did a phenomenal job. I thought the overbooked nature of FTR versus the Team TNA or whatever.
It
Jarrett
picked up
Lethal.
at the end. That match picked up at the end for sure.
It really did. I liked all the Briscoe the Mark Briscoe rep bump stuff. That entire finish I thought was a lot of fun. That really got into and you could tell with the crowd. The crowd really got into it when they were given something to get into.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like the crowd wasn't into a lot of the show because a lot of the show simply didn't give them much to get into.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it was.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. It definitely was. And yeah, I mean, they got Collision coming up here soon. You know, how many times have we said this? At some point, you got to hope that they could figure out how to book consistent creative, and it hasn't happened yet. So, this just seemed like on the largest scale where it was so many creative blunders.
Yeah.
And just shines a massive spotlight on how poorly AEW is, from a creative standpoint, booked on a regular basis.
It is, and it's a shame because they have the ingredients.
Yeah.
They really have the ingredients for
really
something really great. They really do. And my fear is, because let's go back to Jade really quick, right? You know, whether or not she takes time off, if it's a long time or not. There's two ways from here on out that Jade can go. And one of the ways is something that we've been advocating for a while, something I even brought up, I think, in our predictions, where Jade loses, but she moves over to the Homegrown versus Outcast story, right?
Yeah.
And gets involved in the women's world title scene.
Yeah.
The other route for her is to languish in the mid card, where she continues on a titleless Jade Island, where she's on TV sporadically and they feed her opponent. At this point, I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, I know.
Because they haven't, they've lost the benefit of doubt.
They have
over the past year,
1,000%.
And I cannot say that it's going to be the one where they do the thing that kind of makes the most sense, which is put her over there with the main bulk of the women's division. I mean, when it's so disingenuous. Mark Sterling says she's gone through everybody. There's like a whole bunch of people she has, and they're all in the main title scene. At least, especially like the current iterations of those wrestlers, she's been kept away from them. Forever. And so, like, they can do the thing that makes a lot of sense, that builds her even more and builds to her potential, or they can just let her languish, which is what I think is probably going to happen because they haven't proven to be able to do the other thing.
Exactly. I mean, all this time they could have had Jade involved in the Homegrown Outcast story as TBS champ and increase the breadth of that story to try to encompass more wrestlers.
Yeah.
You could tell the stories of the interpersonal dynamics between everybody in both factions.
Yeah.
Because we don't really get that. We got a little bit of that with the Outcast when they were talking about, which one of you is going to win the title, and I'm like, we'll worry about that later. But we don't get that really on the Homegrown side of things.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
With any detail at least. And you bring more people into this story, and you could tell those stories within the factions like they do with the Elite. Probably because the Elite books their own stuff or has a heavy hand in their own stuff and focuses on those details. But it seems like elsewhere, anywhere else on the roster, no, it doesn't really happen very often, if at all.
Yeah,
if at all. And it's disappointing because, you said, the ingredients are there to have something really good.
Yeah,
but it's tiresome to see that continually fumbled.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about, because it looks like we are having some stream issues now.
Oh, apologies, everybody.
Talk about the Big Blue Predictions Challenge, Larson.
Okay, I will do that. We have a winner. John Hosey is the very first Big Blue Predictions Challenge. Congratulations to John Hosey. Send us a picture and of your choosing, and we'll put Big Blue on that image and have that up somewhere until put up on Instagram and whatnot until we do the next prediction challenge, which will be Money in the Bank.
So we're going to take a quick break here. This episode of Going In Raw is sponsored by BetterHelp. Larson, it can be pretty easy to get caught up in what everyone needs from you. Whether it's work, family, or friends, you can spend so much time giving that you start feeling stretched too thin and burned out because you can't find the time to take a moment to think about what you need from yourself.
Yeah, when I was in my mid-20s, I had lost that balance, was feeling pretty overwhelmed by life, and started dealing with severe anxiety. It got to the point where I realized that I had to go to therapy. It took me a few times to find someone I felt comfortable talking to, but once I did, I learned the tools I needed to better cope with my anxiety. So if you're looking to bring some balance back to your life, therapy can help you learn the tools you need so you can start supporting others without leaving yourself behind. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try.
BetterHelp is entirely online and is designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. And all you got to do to get started is fill out a brief online questionnaire, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/raw today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw.
Guess we can get right into it, yeah?
Let's get right into it. Kicked off with AEW International Championship.
Well, here, let's
Battle
mention this
Royal.
real quick. So in the kickoff show, the Hardys and Hook beat Ethan Page and the Guns, so now Matt Hardy controls Ethan Page's contract. Mention that real quick.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
That did happen. So yes,
yeah, that was a fun match.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Then yes, the main show kicked off.
There was a scary spot with Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, where he slipped off the top rope. I know.
But they were giving it their all.
What's that?
I said they were giving it their all.
They were. They definitely were. So yes, the main card kicked off with the International Championship Battle Royal. 21 participants. And this was an opportunity to tell some little stories in the ring. And then some pretty huge ones with like Ricky Starks and Jay White, who probably should have had a singles match. Swerve and Keith Lee again probably should have had a singles match on the card. But Swerve and Keith Lee.
Here's the thing: do you think they want at this point? You think they want a singles match on this particular card?
I mean,
I'm joking.
I don't know. Maybe those matches would have actually
Right.
elevated what we saw. I don't know. Swerve and Keith Lee got a good amount of focus on in this match. There were several instances, or a couple instances, where it was just the two of them. So, and then Brian Cage led to Keith Lee's elimination. Ricky Starks ended up limiting both Jay White and Juice Robinson. So, I guess in that respect, stories were kind of advanced. Although in the case of Swerve and Keith Lee, this is like the first. All right, maybe the second major story beat that's happened since the feud started late last year.
Yeah.
With, I guess, the first being Keith Lee taking out Parker Boudreaux and Trench, the initial Mogul affiliates.
Yeah.
But otherwise, again, this is a story. I say this all the time. Keith Lee and Swerve is a story that doesn't seem that hard to put together, and yet the story hasn't been told.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they're pushing so hard on this one. Like they're just they keep on putting off and putting off. I don't know. All I can honestly think is Tony Khan things get lost in the shuffle, and if you don't know how to like get in with him, I guess, then you're gonna get lost in the shuffle, and that's a bummer. Like he should be looking at everybody who he has set things up with and pay those things off and move on with.
Yes.
It came down to who was it? It was Swerve, Orange Cassidy, Big Bill.
And
yeah,
Penta.
he had a good run. Big Bill
Yeah.
had a good run. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the final four. Penta was eliminated pretty quick, and then Big Bill was taken to Orange Cassidy. Swerve was like, "Here, I'll take over for now," and Big Bill's like, "No, I want to eliminate Orange Cassidy." So Big Bill's about to powerbomb Orange Cassidy out of the ring, and then so Orange Cassidy kind of like skids the cat, and then Swerve pushes Big Bill over the top rope. He's eliminated. So it's Orange Cassidy, Swerve, final two. And we're both rooting for Swerve. We love Swerve. Huge Swerve fans here at Going in Raw.
Yeah.
And Orange Cassidy's had a hell of a reign. If they ended, I kind of feel like whoever beats Orange Cassidy probably has to pin them. But if they ended Orange Cassidy's title reign here, all right, fine.
Yeah, sure.
He had to go through 21 people, and that is a tall task. Orange Cassidy won though. So they're out in the apron brawling, and Orange is calling for an orange punch while Swerve is like hanging on to the top rope. Instead, he just kicks Swerve's arm off, and then Swerve falls to the floor. Orange Cassidy retains.
Yeah, we're both big Swerve fans. Like you said, I mean, I echo the same sentiment. Orange Cassidy's had a terrific run. And it was a very Orange Cassidy finish, and that's totally fine. But it illustrates that hey, maybe they do have something planned for Swerve to give him this spot. Out of everybody else who could have had this final spot with Orange Cassidy, it ended up being Swerve. And maybe that is foreshadowing something better for him.
I'd like to hope so.
Yeah, I mean, you can only go off what you're seeing here. I mean, if it was like Brian Cage in that last spot with Orange Cassidy, maybe it's the same thing, but it's not. It was the most prominent guy in the match was Swerve in this case. So hopefully they'll run with that. But like you said, you never know.
You never know. Oof. Yeah. So this next one, unsanctioned match, Chris Jericho and Adam Cole with Sabu as special enforcer.
So I just look, man, after watching what I have of All Access and understanding what Adam Cole has gone through to come back, like, I understand it. I get it. It's wrestling. And hell, I don't know. Maybe they would tell you that a match like this is something that's preferable to a traditional match if you're coming back from the stuff the pretty gnarly stuff that he's coming back from, all those concussions.
The back-to-back concussions, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. It just didn't, Jericho, when he's in a standard wrestling match to this day, can put on a really good match. He has put on several really good matches over the past 6 months. This wasn't really designed to showcase the best of what he can do. Adam Cole, as he famously stated in a promo against Karrion Kross, all they got to do is ring the bell, and you see why I'm special. Mm-hmm. Well, this isn't a match that showcased that either.
No.
And I kind of feel like, it's a blood feud. I get that because of the Britt Baker stuff. All right. But I just kind of feel like these two would have been suited better to like a really good in-ring match. I don't know. Maybe just make it like a no DQ match instead of something so over the top with people flying through tables and Sabu throwing chairs at heads. I don't know.
When you describe it like people flying through tables and Sabu throwing chairs at people's heads, it makes it sound like it was exciting. There was no excitement to this match, really. Like the lone kind of highlight is the bit where Britt came out and started wailing away on Jericho with the kendo stick.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That was like the one spot in this match. It really felt like, all right, someone actually is angry in this situation.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Like the pace was plodding.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really feel like took full advantage of the unsanctioned nature of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I guess the rationale to bring in Sabu in, in addition to just getting popped from the crowd on Dynamite before, was to bring an air of kind of unpredictability. Well, he was backstage within 5 minutes of the opening bell ringing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Didn't see him again. And just the finish just wasn't really satisfying, where Adam Cole hits a boom, wraps some chain around his knee, hits another one, and then gets on top of Jericho and just drops hammer fists, and the ref just calls for the bell. And I think the idea was like, Adam Cole wants to pummel Chris Jericho's face in.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But it just didn't hit like it. I'm guessing they thought it would. It just felt underwhelming.
I thought the pummeling. Look, the match by that time had already been a big old miss.
Yeah.
The idea of him just sort of laying in shots. I think if the rest of them, for me anyways, if the rest of the match was a hit, if it was like, oh my God, this match is crazy, and it didn't feel clumsy. Like there was one bit where they tried to do a Panama Sunrise, and it just was it was just it just was not impressive. If the match had been really, sort of compelling, and the last image we see is Adam Cole just raining down shots on Chris Jericho, I am actually totally cool with that. I think that would have been effective had the rest of the match lived up to what it was. It's just by that point, it was like, can we just end this thing because it's not very good? Mm-hmm. And it's sort of beneath what both Cole and I think Jericho can do. So yeah, I thought the build to this match was actually really, really good. I liked the Britt Baker stuff. I think Jericho knows how to construct a plot when it comes to building up a match. It's just the match itself. It was a clunker. It really was.
It really was. I mean, the only thing I really put my finger on is the pace was so slow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we've seen Jericho work a faster pace. We've seen Adam Cole work a faster pace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For whatever reason, this was just plodding and slow.
It was plotting.
I don't know if they went that route in an attempt to like focus on the intensity they were, the story leading up to this really kind of highlighted. If that was the case, it just didn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just didn't work at all. Yeah, it was quite disappointing. And I don't know if the show really fully recovered from this dud.
Yeah, it was not a great way to sort of kick off the card. I mean, after the Battle Royal, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we did have a match that brought the crowd back into it. By the end of it, it was FTR versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett with special guest referee Mark Briscoe for the AEW World Tag Titles. I think honestly, because of how sort of sluggish the match prior to this was, the first 75% of this match was really kind of like it was hard to get into. But once they got into, the big story beats at the end, it really became fun. It was really, really fun.
It was fun. It was. Once it started getting a bit overbooked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So you got Cash and Jeff Jarrett fighting the apron. You got Sanjay distracting Cash, so Jeff sends him into the post. Then Lethal chops Dax on the top rope until he falls off. He's going for an elbow drop. It takes too long, and so Dax takes him out. Dax hits a superplex, holds on. They hit a doomsday powerbomb. Cash hits a dive on the Jeff Jarrett, and Sanjay pulls Dax off the corner. So then Mark points to Sanjay and tosses him from ringside. And so so eventually that leads to Jarrett hitting Mark Briscoe.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So he's laid out. And so Sanjay's like slowly making his way towards the ramp. So Aubrey Edwards sprints down to the ring. And Sanjay is like staying in front of her so she can't run into the ring.
And Sanjay's hilarious the entire time.
Yeah. And so eventually Karen Jarrett comes over, hits Aubrey with the guitar.
Which was unexpected and pretty shocking.
Yeah, it was. So then Jay Lethal comes to, hits FTR with a double lethal injection, which was pretty great.
Which was
At
awesome,
this point,
yeah.
Mark Briscoe is still out of it.
Yeah.
So Karen Jarrett grabs the belts and gets hands them to Lethal and Jeff. Lethal goes to hit Dax with it, but Dax fights him off and hits Jay with a pile driver. Jarrett hits the stroke on Dax. Mark's starting to stir. He goes over to make the pinfall count. Dax kicks out. If Jeff Jarrett had just held his composure. Instead, he starts pushing Mark, pushing him around, slaps Mark. Mark slaps him. FTR hits the Shatter Machine on Jeff Jarrett to get the win.
Jeff, you would have
Just
thought
held his composure.
after, what is it, coming up on 40 years of wrestling.
Think you know better.
You'd think you'd know better. But
Maybe the hubris of being a Hall of Famer is what ultimately did him in.
At this point, he's won so many titles. He's like, what's another title I could do what I want? I'm Jeff Jarrett.
He's got his office job. He probably feels pretty safe.
I would imagine so, yeah. So FTR and Mark Briscoe all hug together, and he raises their hands. Marvez is in the back with Ricky Starks. He's talking about the Battle Royal. He gets attacked by Bullet Club Gold. They take him out. And then FTR, who were just in the ring. Well, they came running back there, man. He runs and then
how they know what's going on? Was it playing on the Tron?
I don't know, man. I think it was because they do that for the crowd, I think, for the live crowd. So they see, but they were really fast.
They were really fast.
It was
almost
really
felt like a pre-shoot.
I'll be honest, it was confusing. It was like, plus, like, what do they care? Like, what are they?
Yeah, I know. Have they ever had any interaction with Ricky Starks?
Usually, that. Like, I'm usually like,
no, I don't think they have.
No,
no.
Okay.
Unless it's just a way for another member of Bullet Club Gold to join up, so we have a trios match. The LP's coming.
Yeah. No,
I don't know.
It's just confusing.
Anyways, backstage, it is confusing. Anyways, backstage, Jericho and Saraya. So Saraya came out during the Cole Jericho match when Britt was out there hitting Jericho with the kendo. So Saraya came out and Britt ended up hitting her a bunch with the kendo stick as they go backstage. So Jericho and Saraya, they're upset backstage, and they're like, we want a tag match, two of us against Adam Cole and Britt Baker on Dynamite. And Jericho starts throwing stuff around, and then like a PA or something comes up to Jericho. It's like, hey, you can't do that. And so Jericho throws a fireball in the PA's face.
That's funny. After that, we had Wardlow versus Christian Cage. And yeah, dude, I'll be honest, man. I thought they there was plenty of like, number one, Christian at his age probably shouldn't be doing this kind of match because there are all sorts of shit where he's like falling off the ladder. I mean, they did the finish there when he just sort of, when Arn pushed him onto like from the ladder, like close to the top of it onto Wardlow's shoulders to get in a power bomb position. I thought was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Wardlow with the scary swanton off the top of the ladder onto Luchasaurus through the tables. Luchasaurus rebooting Christian at one point and sending him back in the ring.
And then Arn did the same for Wardlow.
And then Arn doing the same for Arn, like biting off Luchasaurus's finger.
Yeah.
That was rad. I mean, it's goofy, but like I said about the Cody Brock stuff, I love when they get goofy, and you cannot say these guys did not fucking work their asses off.
Yeah,
because they really, really did. My heart wishes Christian Cage would have won that title because the TNT title, who cares? It gets passed around so often. But no, I thought Arn thinking he was about to bust Luchasaurus with a spine buster. He had the charge finisher position.
He was primed to hit him, I know.
And then Luchasaurus turns around like, the fuck is this?
Yeah.
He grabs him for a choke slam, and that's when Arn bites his finger. Man, I thought this was it was the thing that I loved about it is that it was super ambitious, and they pretty much, I mean, there was a goofy bit where like Wardlow thought he was going to jump. Was he like a springboard onto
the ladder, but he's 270 pounds.
And he's not a cruiserweight, and this ladder is like thin, and it just sort of crumpled under him.
Yeah, it was like aluminum foil under his feet.
Right, yeah, and then like he puts it back up, and Rick Knox tries to hold it in place, but just him touching it collapses.
Oh, it's like there's like 6 inches because it's so bent up. If the two legs are down on one, or the one leg's down on one side, there's like 6-inch gap on the other. And so Rick Knox is trying to hold the ladder so Wardlow could climb it. And once he held onto it, the thing just toppled over to the opposite side. So there's a 6-inch gap on the other side. And Wardlow's like, the hell with this, and tosses it out of the ring. Yeah, I mean, again, there's stuff to like in this match. Even a lot of the matches, we get really good matches on Dynamite on a regular basis.
Yeah, sure.
And while a lot of these matches on the undercard here were good, I mean, outside of Cole and Jericho, like FTR and Jarrett and Lethal was a good match.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This ladder match was a good match, but it didn't necessarily feel like anything that would be out of place on an episode of Dynamite.
This ladder match would. This was a pay-per-view match, dude.
If you take the Swanton spot out, this would fit in on Dynamite.
I don't know.
And a main event of Dynamite.
I disagree on that one. I think there was enough going on with all the crazy ladder spots that this was a pay-per-view level match. I'll give credit where credit's due. But yeah, no, I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed this match, and Wardlow comes away with a hard-earned win here to keep his TNT title.
Yep. Next, we had the Women's Championship bout, Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter. So Tony's out first, and then Jamie's music hits. She's got one of the best themes.
Oh, it's great.
No Jamie.
Yeah.
So they cue her music up again, and then the Outcasts are attacking Jamie Hayter from behind down the ramp, and they're just focusing on the shoulder that's taped up. They pin her arm against the ring steps, and Toni Storm kicks it a few times. And then eventually they make the way into the ring, and the ref's like, "You good to go, Jamie? Ring the bell." After she got wrecked all the way down the ramp.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Toni Storm goes after the arm early and often, and you had Saray out there trying to help, Ruby out there trying to help. Eventually, Britt comes back out. A turnbuckle in the corner is exposed. The ref hits that, kind of no-sells that, just kind of stumbles a little bit.
Yeah.
We've seen lesser spots lead to referees being unconscious for a good 5 minutes.
For a solid 5, yeah.
Yeah. Eventually, though, down towards the finish, Ruby sprays Jamie in the eyes. Tony follows with a hip attack. It's a 2 count there. Sheeta comes down the ring with the kendo. Her and Ruby brawl. Ends up going, I think, up the ramp too.
Hold on a second. Just keep on talking.
I'll keep on going. So she hits Tony with Haterade, gets a 2 count there. So she rips off the tape on her shoulder. Is looking for another. Instead, Tony pushes Jamie shoulder first into the exposed turnbuckle and followed with Storm Zero to get the win. So Tony is 2-time champion, no interim title in this case. So that's good for Tony. It's a bummer. It's a huge bummer for Jamie that her title reign ended this way. I mean, she really didn't have a whole lot. I don't think a whole lot of title defenses, just a handful of them prior to this, anyways. But you don't like to see someone's title reign end due to injury.
You mentioned the reporting that her shoulders busted up or something.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a legit injury.
I'm kind of surprised that they had her do as much stuff as they did.
I know.
Given that she's injured, she's got to take some time off.
Yeah,
I just tried to kick her out, and she wouldn't budge. Now she gets up, and now she wants to go out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
All right, I'll jump into the next match.
Hold on. Where do you think Tony Storm goes from here? We'll talk about that.
Where do I think Tony Storm goes for here? I mean, ideally, what I'd like to see happen is that Jade takes some time off. She comes back, challenges Tony Storm for the women's title, and gets it. That's what I'd like to see. What I'd like to see. Am I optimistic that's actually going to happen? As we said earlier, AEW doesn't have the benefit of the doubt, so I believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Believe it when I see it.
Yeah. You talking about Jade?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Next up, we had an open challenge match. House Black had an open challenge for the trios titles, even though it was pretty clear the Acclaim were going to answer it because that was alluded to on Rampage.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Again, this was a good bout. It's a really good bout.
The rap that Caster did was better than the match itself. Now, the match was really good, but him referencing Dominic was pretty awesome.
That was pretty great. And we even called who was eating the pin here. It was Daddy Ass.
Yeah, a little obvious, but you never know. Maybe Acclaimed. I still think Acclaimed wasn't a terrible pick to win this. I mean, as we saw earlier or later, an open challenge match with the title change. They just did it on the wrong match.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Acclaimed are still one of, if not the most over acts in all of AEW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, it's pretty clear that neither Bowens nor Caster was going to eat a pin here. So eventually, Billy Gunn gets the hot tag. He just goes on a run, starts laying out people with famoussers, and then Malachi is behind him after Billy hits Buddy with a famouser. Black Mass covers him to get the win.
Yeah. No, this was good stuff, though. This is a good match. You like the? I know we've talked about this before. You still like the House of Black. Well, somebody actually brought up a really good. Besides the presentation, somebody brought up a really good point. Why doesn't anybody pick a stipulation that really benefits them? Like, why wouldn't you say, "Oh, by the way, I get to pick the stipulation, handicap match, Malachi or Brody, you're out of here."
Yeah, I know.
Do that.
Plot hole.
Yeah, there you go.
Plot hole. Mm-hmm. Plot hole. That's what it is. It's one of those things that sounds good on paper. Then you're like, yeah, why not just pick a stipulation that would obviously benefit you, the challengers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I know.
How about this one-sided blindfold match? All three of you guys have to wear blindfolds. You stumbling around like fools. I'm just dropping my finish on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That works.
Yep.
Then we got a TBS championship match next. Jade taking on Taya Valkyrie. Both Taya and Jade had some awesome entrances. Jade, I can't remember what the sorority was called.
Oh, I forget. I don't know. But that was an awesome entrance.
It was something kind of honoring her sorority. And Taya's seems kind of like Moulin Rouge inspired. Both of them are pretty neat. And this match itself was pretty solid.
Yeah.
At one point, Taya hits Road to Valhalla. Jade kicks out. And then Taya gets Jade up on her shoulders. Jade escapes, hits a kick, and then lands Jaded on Taya to get the win.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So then Mark Sterling gets on the mic, says Jade has dominated everybody. There's no one else no one back there she hasn't beat, but she's prepared to wrestle anytime, any place, but there's nobody left. And then Chris Statlander's music hits. She comes to the ring. Apparently anytime, any place means right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so this didn't last very long. I think it was about a minute. And Jade looks for a pump kick, or hits the pump kick, looks for Jaded. Chris elbows out of it and hits her finisher to get the win.
Yeah, I mean, we covered this in the intro. I just I don't know. I just think you built up this great streak. You built up this character who's unbeatable. And then you're trying to establish this big return for your big baby face. And she beats Jade by, hey, I'm answering an open challenge after you just, went through a big match. Like, what if you come out there and you put the fear of God in Jade by just coming out there and acting like you're going to do this? You just go up there and, you have a face off with her and be like, nah, not right now. I want you at your best.
Yep.
Not
what happened though.
Yeah. So after that, we had the world title match, the Pillars match. MJF, Jack Perry, Sammy Guevara, and Darby Allin. There's a really great Darby Allin short film before Hamburries in Vegas. Really well filmed again. Mm-hmm. And then he made his entrance because there was like an Elvis impersonator there. And then he made his entrance wearing some Elvis gear, which I thought was pretty cool.
Elvis-inspired gear. Before the match, also, Sammy and Ty Mello came out and did the cue card thing, announcing that Ty is pregnant. So congratulations to Sammy and Ty. MJF was in a throne that lowered onto the stage for his entrance. But again, a really fun bout. Best match of the night. You got all four of them who are really good wrestlers, really creative wrestlers.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just all about the spots. There was some good character stuff sprinkled throughout. It felt like with this match more than maybe all the other ones, they kind of turned the mics up ringside up a bit. Because you heard a lot more of the crap talk between all four of them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cussing in this match. So if that's something you're into, you'll be pleased by that.
Yeah, because they don't let them do it that much on TV anymore.
No, not anymore. No. So down towards the finish here, MJF low blows Sammy in the corner and gets the Dynamite Diamond ring on. He's about to hit Sammy with it. Darby comes from behind with a skateboard, blasts him. He hits MJF with a coffin drop and then the side headlock takeover. Gets a 2 count because Jungle Boy breaks up the pin.
Boo.
So Darby's pretty upset that Jungle Boy broke up what would most assuredly been Darby's win in gaining the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. So they go at it a bit. MJF has his belt because Darby and Jungle Boy eventually knock each other out. So MJF goes and gets the Triple B, and he's loaded up to hit somebody with it. So he's looking back and forth at Darby and Jungle Boy and Darby and Jungle Boy and Darby and Jungle Boy. He says, who am I going to hit? Eventually, he loads up, goes after Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy blocks it. And then Sammy takes out MJF. And that's when Jungle Boy's holding the belt. And he's like,
do I? And crowd's like, yeah, just fucking do it. Come on.
Do it, win. Come on. Already. Do it.
All the best faces do this shit, man.
Exactly. Instead, he looks at it and then throws it down to the floor.
Boo.
And then, so he instead looking for, so Darby hits him with the Last Supper. Jungle Boy kicks out of that. Sammy hits them both with a knee strike. Sammy's looking for a GTH on Jungle Boy, hits that, heads up top. Darby pushes him off the top rope. Darby goes up top to try to hit a coffin drop on Jungle Boy, and as he's about to make his leap, MJF pops the title on top of Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
So Darby hits the coffin drop and kind of arches his back. MJF goes side headlock takeover on Darby to get the win.
Yeah, no, just a really, really terrific stuff. There was that bit I mentioned earlier with, the Sammy, because MJF cuts a whole promo during the middle of the match.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, come on, Sammy, do it. And Sammy's like, all right, fine, I'll take the money. I have a baby on the way. I need the money. And then instead he goes for the roll-up. So confirmed, Sammy Guevara does not care about his baby.
I thought you were going to say confirmed, Sammy Guevara, babyface.
No, we'll have problems paying for diapers, confirmed. After that, we had the main event, the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite Anarchy in the arena. So they did the thing again where a band with one of the more ill-advised get-ups for the lead singer, including a mask and some face paint, played Wild Thing throughout the first, 10 minutes of the match continuously until the Young Bucks went and super kicked this guy, thankfully off our TV screens. But again, you just sort of look at this getup and you're like, yeah, should you do this?
No, someone should say, this is a terrible idea. Don't do this.
Yeah.
It took me out of the main event entirely.
I mean, it was kind of funny to see our chat's reaction to it because how big of a blunder it really is. It's like, oh my God.
It's a massive blunder.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah, I don't know why they would do that.
Massive. I don't know how. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how the singer got out there with what he had on there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways,
I don't know.
So yeah, the and this is just like, man, we can go by bit by bit by bit, but this match was pure chaos. I mean, God, I don't even know where to start here.
I don't know either. Because
there was an exploding shoe.
That was cool.
that was really cool. Look, I'll just break it down this way. I'm not going to go beat by beat.
No.
There were plenty of cool bits to this match. There were plenty of cool character moments to this match, especially between Kenny and Hangman. This is the first time they've really, been a unit together in the ring since they were tag teams. And at one point, they were down. The Young Bucks were nowhere to be found, and the three members of the Blackpool Combat Club were surrounding them. And they only had each other, and they were using each other to climb back up, which echoed, Kenny Omega letting Hangman Page drop when he tried to use him to prop him up back when they broke up. So there was a lot of really cool little, callbacks to that. But
I'll be honest, the Blackpool Combat Club pretty much, for a large portion of this bout, were wiping the floor with the Elite.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Like every member of the Elite got busted open in this match.
And here's the thing.
Except
I think
Matt. No, Matt didn't. I don't think Matt did, but everybody else did.
Yeah, he didn't. He was taken out. He was like had like a pile driver.
He had the pile driver in the bed of the truck.
Yeah. I think one of the conceits for this match, one of the things that they just have to deal with is that TV direction is going to be terrible.
Yes.
Because you've got usually like 5 different mini matches going off in different directions. The last Anarchy in the arena match was a mess of TV direction. And then when it all comes back together to ring, it sort of goes back to normal. I always remember that great, because that was the one where Eddie Kingston showed up with the can of gas. Yeah, that was awesome. That was great.
Yeah, that was a great moment. That was an absolutely awesome moment.
It really was. Nothing on par with that here, except for mating the exploding shoe, which was random as fuck. So Matt Jackson comes back from getting pile drived in the back of a truck. He comes stumbling back, sort of to make a save, and Mox has somebody in like a submission move.
It was Kenny, I think.
Was it Kenny? Okay,
I think so.
And so Matt just rolls up on him, and he super kicks him in the head, and just an explosion happens.
Yeah.
Which was pretty awesome. And then eventually they take off Matt's shoe to make sure there's no more explosives in his shoe.
They dropped his bare foot into a pile of thumbtacks.
Oh, yeah, the thumbtacks. That was really good stuff, too. Yeah. There was cool shit in this match. It's just, we already outlined the finish. It was just a little bit confusing.
Yeah, it was confusing. I mean, we kind of thought Takeshita would get involved because Don had been recruiting him for months. It made all the sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
But just, like, where do the loyalties lie? Who's aligned with who?
Yeah,
because at one point Don threw a screwdriver in the ring for Blackpool Combat Club to use.
Yeah, right.
So
I don't know. I mean, somebody here in chat earlier said, I think it's obvious. I think Don Callis is trying to get Takeshita recruited into Blackpool Combat Club. I mean, to me, it's not obvious.
No, it's not obvious.
And to like literally a lot, like most of the people that were sort of like observing and even hearing commentary, it doesn't seem all that obvious. And Don Callis didn't make any overtures towards Blackpool Combat Club besides bringing them in there. They just seem to be in their own little section of the ring. And then Don Callis raises his hand. He's not like trying to make introductions here.
No.
So I don't think that was obvious.
I think Blackpool Combat Club is Blackpool Combat Club. Those 4 members. Don's beef is strictly with Kenny Omega, and Takeshita is now his guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's what I think. I think Don was using Blackpool Combat Club only as a means to get at Kenny Omega, and that is it. That's what I think. But again, it's not clear. It's not clear. It's not totally clear.
It's not clear. Like, you're not going to sit here and say, oh, it was obvious, because it really wasn't, though. So, anyways, that's the show. That's our review. I didn't put up any questions thread because we've been watching wrestling for 5 hours.
We have.
We've been talking about it for an hour.
There's a Succession finale we probably both want to watch.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, AEW's a nice palate cleanser for Succession. I'm going to end up falling asleep before that damn thing's over, too.
I know.
Oh, man. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Tomorrow we're taking the day off because it's Memorial Day here in the United States. We'll be back Tuesday with our Raw review, so be sure to check that out. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.